Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining me today for Financial First Aid. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of having a good friend of mine on. He is Richard Ransom Jr. He's president and CEO of Collegiate Title Corporation, located in Morristown, New Jersey. He's been there at the helm, the head of that helm for the last 28 years. And Collegiate Title has a commitment to the American dream. The company's mission is to establish successful partnering relationships with realtors, attorneys, lenders, and community development organizations while maintaining the highest code of ethics to protect property ownership rights. And they've been around for a long time, so they must be doing something right. They are also dedicated to the procurement of sound, safe, and reliable title insurance services. And we'll get into just how important that is for anyone who is an investor, a real estate investor, as we go further into the conversation with Mr. Ransom. And Financial First Aid, we're here to help bankrupt entrepreneurs go from broke to bank. We show them that bankruptcy is not an end, but actually a beginning with a fresh start. We motivate, educate, and inspire the entrepreneur in you. And the reason I'm having Mr. Ransom on is because he is quite the entrepreneur. To have had a successful business for 28 years and have kept the doors open is quite an accomplishment. Yes, indeed. So welcome, Mr. Ransom. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Vera. How about yourself?
I am doing great. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to have you here and so excited because you and I have been friends for a while, and I know the professionalism you bring to what you do. I also know that you're very dedicated to helping homeowners do what they need to do, and business owners as well, because everyone needs real estate at some point in time, whether it's they're living in their own houses or if they're in fact an investor, or if they have a business. I know brick and mortar isn't as popular as it once was, but you still need land. Everybody needs land, and they're not making any more of it. So we definitely need someone like you on our side to do what it is we do. So, Richard, tell us what motivated you to start your own title company.
Well, I have been an entrepreneur, so to speak, since I was a young kid. When I lived in a very small, close-knit community in Cinnaminson. Each town had its little section, and my little section was small, but we had some elderly gentlemen and women. And at the age of 6, I had a little route that I would have go around to the seniors with my little wagon or bicycle or whatever, and get a list of what these seniors needed, and take it to the local store or the corner store, and get for them, potato chips, a box of macaroni, cereal, milk, bread, soda, cigar, cigarette. At that time, all you had to do is write a list out, give it to the store clerk, and they would get it for you. And I made a little change that way. So
Wow.
it's always been that way. And from after that, I would say about from age 9 to 11, I had a paper route, and after that, I used to shine shoes
Wow.
at Pensacola Mart. And I went to college. After I got out of college, I taught school for 5 years, and even while I was teaching, I had opened up a sporting goods store.
Wow.
So I've always had my finger or my thumb on in business, some way, shape, or form.
That's fantastic. And look at that, starting at 6 years old. The crazy part about that is some of the people who are listening in my audience, they don't know what a shoe shine stand is, or a paper route is, or what was the other thing you said? It was one other thing that was is really old school. And I'm just laughing because that was a way that people could make money that didn't have legal working papers and things like that. And so now it's so much more regimented, but that was a great way to get started. And so what was your after after all those little hustles, because that's what they were at the time, called hustles, what was just the real catalyst to you saying, okay, I'm going to stop teaching and I'm going to stop having, the sporting goods store and just dive right into doing title work?
Well, good question. After I got out of education, I went into banking.
Oh,
And I was a group vice president for a bank, which is now PNC Bank. It was called Mid-Atlantic National Bank.
hmm.
And I was the group vice president, and I had seven branches that reported to me. And that was a great job. I loved it. Along the way, uh, my wife got sick, and she passed away from breast cancer. And my son
Wow.
was only 6 years old. So I needed to have a job that I can control my time.
Right.
Now, controlling my time does not mean that I work less hours. It
Hmm.
was just that if I had to go to a school function, pick him up
Hmm.
after school,
Right.
go to a sporting event, that I could go and then
Hmm.
come back and do the rest of my work.
Right.
I know that I was very not hard, but I was strict on my managers. So I couldn't ask them to do something or be there,
Hmm.
and I wasn't there. So I needed something that I can control my time, manage my time, and kind of like control what I did.
Okay.
I knew a little bit about title. I saw a need for a title company in the
Hmm.
area,
Hmm.
and I uh, filled that niche. And the niche
Oh,
was for me to
nice.
open up collegiate title.
Wow, that's fantastic. And it's interesting how kind of necessity forced you into being an entrepreneur. Oh, well, I shouldn't say an entrepreneur. You were already an entrepreneur, but it kind of forced you into settling on something that, you really knew you wanted to do and could fulfill a need at the same time and control your time, because that was your real objective. That's great. That's really great. Was there ever a time that you kind of thought, wow, this is kind of hard, maybe I can go back to the banking world, because the banking world gives me some sense of security in terms of your finances and in terms of having, a job.
Well, yeah, if I stayed in banking or even education, by now I would have been retired 11 years ago. But discouraged, there are always times that when you think back,
Hmm.
uh, what am I doing, or am I doing the right thing? But remember, if it was easy,
Hmm.
everyone would do it.
True. True.
And nothing ventured, nothing gained. So uh, I guess you have to really commit to what you're doing and what you want to do.
Hmm.
And like in title, you try to eliminate the odds or the things which are the negative and focus on the positive.
Mm.
And people always say to you, well, don't do this, don't do that, or no, I can't help you. But remember, in sales, a sales begins with the first no. You can't sell something that everybody says yes, yes, yes. The sale begins when somebody says no. Then you got to convince them that, to buy your product. So have I always been dedicated and focused? Yeah, you have to be. You have to be dedicated. You have to be focused. You have to be committed to what you are setting out to do,
Mm.
no matter what it is. Um, if you don't have the generational wealth, or I didn't have the generational wealth to fall back on. I
Hmm.
didn't have a grandmother or grandfather who were millionaires who I can say, I fell on hard times, or I need a loan. Give me $1 million. I think with Trump, his father gave him a couple $1 million to start a business. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't have that opportunity to do that. Uh, I remember when I was in banking, one of the stores that was a depositor was Bassett's Chicken, Bassett's Turkey. And I was there one day talking to the guy. His grandmother came up and he said, The guy was young. He was maybe like 30 years old, and the grandmother uh, owned Bassett's ice cream. You ever heard of
Oh,
Bassett?
yes. Hmm.
Okay, so grandma came out and goes, "Oh, Johnny, you're working too hard. Why don't you take the day off?" I didn't have a grandma who could, tell me to close up. So I had to do what I had to do.
Uh-huh.
Um, so many doors that are open for some
Hmm.
are not open for all of us.
This is
And we
true.
have to open our own doors.
Yes.
And you do that by committing to what you want to do and how you have to do it.
Hmm.
And that's very important. And no matter what, you got to keep on moving forward. And
That's
you can't
wonderful.
stop. You can't stop. You can't look back. You can't say, "Oh, I fell down," because when you first started riding a bike, what happened? You fell, but you got up and you kept on moving forward. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, there are going to be times that you question your destiny. You're going to be times that you question what you're doing. There's going to be times that you say, "Am I really doing the right thing?" Keep on moving. Yeah, that one thing that you're doing may not be the final item that you do, but keep on moving forward.
Wow. See, now you already jumped to the end of the broadcast when I say, what are you going to tell my audience to inspire them, motivate them, and educate them? And you've already given us some words of inspiration. So, but we'll come back to that in a little
Okay.
bit. So, so now, during COVID, how did you kind of navigate that whole process when doing title work? Well, you know what? Let me go back for a second. Just explain to people, to people what a title company really does.
Okay. A title company, title insurance company, what we are, when somebody is buying or selling a property, we are the ones who search out the property or so to speak, go back to the county records, to the state records, to the federal records, to the municipality records to confirm who owns the property. If that owner had purchased the property through the proper channels legally, they have ownership of the property and able to sell the property. What liens they have they have any mortgages against the property? Any builder's contracts that had not been satisfied? Any liens against the property? Anything which will not allow them to provide free and clear title, free and clear ownership from themselves to the buyer. We are the watchdogs or the guardians to make sure that when a buyer is buying that property, that the owner is the rightful owner, it's free and clear of any liens, and they have the right and the ability to convey. So to make sure that there's no federal liens, no child support, no bail bonds, no open mortgages, no open tax certificates, all those things that could be lien against that property. We search it out. If they are there, we make sure that they are cleared and that there's nothing against that property to convey.
Hmm. And once that's completed, you actually issue an insurance policy against
We,
that property?
we issue a title insurance property saying that we are guaranteeing that the property is in fee simple or is to the lowest common denominator, and that if something does come up, we will insure against that. Certain things that come up. Now, we are the only type of insurance that are insuring against anything or any perils of the past. So anything
Okay.
that happens in the past,
Hmm.
that's what we're insuring against.
Hmm.
Auto insurance, they are insuring against something that happens in the future, a future auto accident.
Right.
Homeowners insurance, if you have a broken water pipe or roof blows off or the house burns, gets in fire, they are insuring against future perils. We are insuring against perils that happened in the past. If
Okay.
somebody comes out and says that, well, that was my grandfather's or my father's property and I didn't get paid for it, or something like that, or a divorce and it's the same marital property, and the wife says that I should be on the deed, I wasn't on the deed, and my husband sold the property, I did not sign for that property. I'm entitled to some interest in that property. That's an issue.
Hmm. And how often do people come to, well, I don't know that they come to you specifically, but let's say a person runs into a problem and they get ready to sell the property, and then there's discovery that, you know, there was a lien or something that the title company didn't pick up, and they have to actually use the policy. How does that work?
It doesn't happen often, but what
Mhm.
happened is that uh, that person who has an issue would file a claim
Mhm.
against their title policy, and
Okay.
then our underwriters would take it from there and investigate the situation to see what happened. Because there are times that maybe something was missed as far as the county misindexed that mortgage, and
Right.
it's a human error. But we insure against misindexing of a mortgage, so that
Mhm.
that could come about. Or
Mhm.
there's a fraud, somebody misrepresenting themselves. You have a husband and wife, or you have two people to come to a closing and they represent themselves as being husband and wife, and really it's just a husband and a girlfriend. And the
Okay.
girlfriend is saying that she's the wife and they sign off on it.
Oh,
The wife does not know that they're selling the property. That's an issue. That
it
could be a
sure
possible
is.
claim. Could
That
be a
is,
possible claim.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
definitely,
wow.
definitely.
Uh.
Or, yeah, or you have child support. At one time, child support could be something that was escrow. Now it cannot. It has to be either paid in full or bought current. So
Oh, okay.
that's something which is, it's about 5 years old now, or maybe longer than that. But it has to be child support to convey the property has to be bought current.
Okay, that's interesting. That's something I didn't know. I wasn't aware of. So, excuse me. So how did you guys, work through the pandemic? How did that whole process work out? Because I know, during that time there wasn't a lot of face-to-face meeting, and typically, pre-COVID, people would the seller, the buyer would come to the table, and you as the title closer would be the person at the table, and maybe the mortgage person would be there. Altogether, there were maybe 4 or 5 people, but everybody would be seated in the room together. So when COVID hit, how did you guys navigate that?
Okay, title companies they were declared by the state or by the governor as being a required business
Oh,
because
great, an essential business. Okay.
because they didn't want uh, the transaction of conveying a property to stop.
Right.
So we had to stay open in one way, shape, or form. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, we had to go through as far as uh, not having everybody or all parties to the transaction at closing. As you said before, we used to have the buyer, the seller, the realtor,
Right.
everyone at closing. So we had to curtail that. We had to
Mm-hmm.
have either the buyers there at one time in one room, and once the buyers signed the documents, and we would make sure that we would tell the buyers that they were the only ones who could come. They could not bring their kids. They could not bring grandma, grandpa, next door
Okay.
neighbor. It was only the buyers that were able to or allowed to come to the closing.
Mm-hmm.
Once they came and signed the documents, then we will excuse the buyer. We would wipe down everything. We would throw the pens away or give the pens so they can take the pens with them. We would wipe down the chairs, wipe down the table, wipe down the doors, handles, everything. Then we would bring in the sellers. And normally we would bring the sellers into a different room, even though we wiped down the other room, we would bring them to a different room and they will sign, and then we will convey the property that way. We will never bring everybody in together. They're always
Mm-hmm.
separated out. If we could, we would try to do it by mail or
Okay.
where it would not bring everybody in at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you all do any transactions virtually? Like you and I are having this doing this podcast. Was there ever a way or a technique to do a closing virtually?
There was, and there still is a way with Ron as far as doing a lot of things virtually. That is picking up steam now, but a lot of times it's better now, but the counties would not record a lot of things that were done virtually. So if you sign a mortgage or a deed virtually and you put your electronic stamp on there, the county would not accept that. So we need to have that wet signature.
Okay.
So that's why it's starting to get better now. And as you know, the governor has passed some things, but a lot of the counties would not accept electronic signatures for the recording of deed and mortgages.
Well, and that makes sense because anybody could sign electronically.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
true.
And I know that during the closing, you always take the identification. You make a copy of each person's excuse me, ID. Their license, their driver's license, or maybe a passport or some form of government issued ID, so that you confirm that the person who's at the transaction table is actually the person that's signing off on the document.
Right. And we had a chance to really look at that person because even
Right.
if something is notarized,
Mm-hmm.
they give us a power of attorney and it's
Mm-hmm.
notarized by that a notary. We don't know if that notary is legit or not, even though it's notarized, it's signed, and everything else. They could have false ID. We don't know.
Right.
So you still got to be very careful with the
Mm-hmm.
transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what kind of situation would you say you found yourself in during the 2008 crash? Because that was a really difficult time for real estate. How did you kind of navigate that whole time period?
We got lucky during that 2008 because at that time we won the HUD contract in 2008.
Okay, and what does
We
that mean?
we were the exclusive closing agent for HUD, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the state
Mm-hmm.
of New Jersey, in the state of New
Okay.
Jersey. So any transaction or any HUD property that closed in the state of New Jersey, we signed for HUD.
Oh,
We were
wow, great.
we were the only entity, whether it be a title company or attorney, that had both contracts in North Jersey and South Jersey. We were the first ones to have that. So we signed for HUD for during 2008. I think it went to 2013, 14, maybe 15, when the whole nation went from having closing agents to having, they called it buyer select, where a buyer could select any title company to do it. So our little niche went away, but for those 5 or 6 years, it was
Uh-huh.
great.
That's
We were
good.
honored to have that as
Right.
far as being a title company, to have that designation of being
Mm-hmm.
a HUD closing agent. So
Mm-hmm.
we did not feel that crunch as
Mm-hmm.
much as other people did because we had that little, not little, we had that contract or those two
That's
contracts.
that's wonderful. That's really, really wonderful. So tell me, in the 30 years that you've been doing this, like how did you initially start and get some traction? Because you were coming from the banking industry and then going into this kind of like how did you find begin to find your clientele?
Networking. Clientele. I found my clientele from my network that I had in banking.
Okay.
I had a lot of contacts there, and we just piggybacked on some of those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And we did, knock wood, we did well. We did well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's
So
uh-huh.
that 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 startup curve was not as bad as it could be for some because by being in the banking business, I had a lot of contacts.
That's excellent because now networking is done by uh you know electronically. You send emails, you call on the phone, you text people. There's not a lot of face to face meetings in terms of networking. It's starting to open up a little bit more now, but old school was you meet someone. You talk to them, shake their hand, you give them your card, and the next thing that you hope that they become, one of your
Sure,
customers. So
sure.
it's a little different now. So what steps would you suggest to a new entrepreneur? What do you think that they could do, like right now, with the kind of current climate of things that they could probably do to help accelerate their growth and maximize their financial position?
Well, I think anybody who is going to start in business, the first thing you have to know if you're going to stay in business is to know your craft or know your business. Because even if you network person to person or electronically, you
Mm-hmm.
have to know what you're selling. You have
Mm-hmm.
to know the features of your product. You have to know the benefits of your product. Somebody wants to know, why should I use your product? Why should I use you? What is the benefits of using you or your product? So you have to know your craft and what it is that you are going to satisfy your need. You have to know what that need is, and you have to identify that need, because you may try to sell them a blue apple, and they don't want a blue apple. They need a yellow banana. So you got to know what they need, and have what they need, and to satisfy that need. And also, if somebody's starting a business, you got to be a good character, because somebody's going to check you out. Going to they may not say that to you right away, but they're going to ask around. Do you know Joe Blow? Do you know whoever? Have you done anything with them before? How did they produce the product? Were they on time? Was the product a good product? Was it reliable? What is their turnaround time? Whatever. They're going to look at your turnaround record and see what you do. Don't promise something we can't deliver. So if you're going to be in business, if you tell somebody you're going to have it in 2 weeks or whatever your supply chain will demand, deliver what you said you're going to do. In any business, don't be average. Right. Be better than average. Okay. Be that somebody that says, use Collegiate Title because they're better than average. They're going to do what they want to do, and they do it with a smile on their face, and they have a good product. So be better than average. Know the market. Know what market you're going into. Know that you can operate in that market, and it's going to be a successful market for you. If you're going into business for the first time, have a plan. When I did my sporting goods store, I did a 5-year plan for that, a business plan. Well, I laid out the rent, I laid out the advertising, I laid out the products I had to bring in, how much it cost for that, the shipping. With the hard price for improvements of the location. So lay all that out, because your first year costs are going to be different than your second, third, and fourth year costs. So get all that figured out, because you want to be on automatic once you open up your business. Have a marketing plan also. Know who you're going to market to. Make sure you market to the right people.
Have yourself great information.
Also,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Also, if you're starting a business, and even if you're in business, surround yourself with good professionals. What I mean, have a good attorney, have a good accountant, and have good bankers, because you need those people to rely upon to build your business. So definitely good accountant, good attorney, good bankers. Once you have all those things in line, and you're out there and you're with your client, be a good listener. Don't try to sell something to the client and tell him what he wants, and that's not what he needs. Be a good listener. Listen to what he wants, what he needs. Then you can satisfy what his needs are. But listen to what he needs. Seek out opportunities, because when you're a good listener, a lot of times you will hear other opportunities that someone would talk about. So now, by being a good listener, you can seek out other opportunities. Beware of the warnings and danger signs. If you hear that something's going to happen, if you hear that the market's going to change, if you hear that the rates are going up, if you hear whatever, be aware of the danger signs that are going that may present themselves. Be a resourceful person also. Find a better way of buying your product or marketing your product. So change with the times. Don't be stuck in one realm. Be able to be resourceful and change with the market. Because if the market is changing and you still say, "Well, I've done it this way for 50 years," well, those days are gone. My generation, we didn't come up with computers, but now it's all you have. So pen and paper is gone. So be able to change with the times.
So that was really a great answer to that question because people, um, you know, when they're starting out as entrepreneurs, they don't always know what to do. And all of that information that you provided was actually perfect. And the other good thing about it is it really applies to any and all businesses. It really doesn't matter what type of business it is that you're in. You should always know, what your customers and your clients need. So you've had, tremendous success going from one type of business to another type of business. Have you ever tried anything and it didn't quite work out?
Yeah. Now, Vera, I can't see. I can see you, but my screen is not coming up with me. So can you see me?
I cannot see you, but I have your name up there.
Okay. Yeah,
So
but some
please.
yeah, for some reason it's not coming up, and
Okay.
I can't. Wait, there you
There
go.
you go.
There
There
you go.
you go.
There you go.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Is there any? You asked me, is there any business that I did or?
Yeah, was there anything that you tried that you didn't have a level of success with? Because let me see, you've gone from having a paper route to shining shoes to going and helping the old people. You had the sporting goods store. You've done just like a myriad of things, and you did the banking thing. Was there anything that you did that maybe was a challenge and it wasn't as successful as some of the other things you've done?
Well, the sporting goods store didn't work out the way we wanted to work out. The sporting goods store was outside of Fort Dix McGuire. At the
Okay.
time I opened up the sporting goods store, it was when Fort Dix had permanent party. Uh, uh,
And what does
at that
that mean?
permanent party means that they had full-time uh, active soldiers. They were training
Okay. Hmm.
soldiers full-time there. So they had an active party. They were bringing new recruits and they trained them at Fort Dix.
Okay.
Fort Dix was a very active location.
Hmm.
So we at the very beginning, the first couple years, it was gangbusters. Fort Dix lost their active party destination.
Oh.
It went down to North Carolina.
Oh,
So
okay.
as you know,
Mm.
Fort Dix now is not a training facility. It's just it's a reserve center now. And then
Hmm.
they merged the bases together. They merged Fort Dix, McGuire, and Lakehurst together. But
Right.
before that, it was all independent.
Hmm.
So McGuire had their own mission as far as cargo planes. Fort Dix had training, and Lakehurst they were logistics as far as intelligence, whatever. So when Fort Dix lost that and McGuire lost their mission,
Hmm.
uh, they moved out. And everybody thought that would never happen. Fort Dix would always
Okay.
be a training center. Well, it happened. So my business went from being having a lot of people around to being nothing.
Ah.
Yeah. So
Now,
we
did
would
you include that in your 5-year plan? Was that part of your 5-year
no,
plan?
no, because
Okay.
we had no idea when we were
Right.
doing the 5-year plan because we were 7 years out planning this before,
Right.
when we opened it up. So
Hmm.
we were we started planning 7 years out. We opened up in 5 years into the third. That's when the news came out that Fort Dix was going to close, and within I would say a year, 2 years, it was nothing going on. So what did I do? Well, it was bleeding money, nobody around, so you had to close the business. So
Hmm.
yeah, we lost money.
Hmm.
I lost some money on it, but it was a learning experience that you control all of your environment and just what's going on. You only have control of so much, and
Right.
that was something that I had no control
Right.
of, and it happened.
Right. Right.
So all right, so
Mm-hmm.
you move on. It was a good learning lesson.
That's what a real focus of financial first aid is. It's like, okay, how do you develop resilience after you've bounce back from well, how do you bounce back from having, having to file bankruptcy? And in your case, you may not have had to file bankruptcy, but you surely did experience, some difficult times. And it's good to hear from someone like you that has had the level of success that you've had, because you have to be successful if you've been in business for 28 to 30 years, or somewhere in that number. And it's not by accident that you've been able to sustain, that level of business for so many years. So I guess I can't really think of anything else I can hit you with, but the last part of this is I always ask my guests, what three things could you tell my audience to educate, to motivate, and to inspire? And actually, I think this whole interview has been all three of those. But if there's any like specific little nuggets you can give them for each one of those items.
Oh, I guess you're talking about experience.
Is that educating? You learn a lot from experience.
Yeah, you learn about it. I guess if you talk about education, any book knowledge that you have is a plus. It's not a requirement, but book knowledge is a plus. Learn as much as you can. If you whether you take a county course, a college course, or whatever course, learn as much as you can. A lot of your business professionals, they will have also training programs, seminars, or whatever. Learn as much as you can about your business.
Okay, that's good. That's in the education realm. I love that.
Read everything. Read anything and everything about the markets, about the economy, about what's going on in your neighborhood. If you have a business and I don't know, your business is let's say your business is a tobacco store, and now you know that they made marijuana legal. Is that something you want to look at as far as being another facet of your business?
Right.
So you investigate that and see that's something that you want to put into your plan. And if it is, then you look at and find out how you can capitalize on that.
Right. Okay. That's great. That's good news right there. That's education. And then how about motivation?
Motivation is be prepared, be committed, be serious. Expect issues to happen. When it's time to stop for the day, and it's 5 o'clock or 6 or 7 o'clock, the motivation is do one more additional thing. Make one more additional call. Send one more additional email. Do one more additional thing. That's your motivation because it's your business. Do that one extra thing. Absolutely. So just keep on moving forward. Do that one extra thing. Make that last call to your customer. Motivation also is don't be so committed to your position, because once you get other information, your position may change. Sure. So always be able to change your position, but be motivated to be able to understand that you can change your position. Okay. Motivation also, you said that you wanted to do this. You said that I always wanted to be in business. I always wanted to do this. Well, now you're here. Now you're here. So what you going to do? What you going to do? Are you willing to put the time in? Are you willing to be motivated? Are you willing to go that extra step? That's motivation. When you're tired, when you want to go home, when you're hungry, make the extra call. Stop at that extra client's place on the way home, or do whatever. Do that one last thing.
Okay. Inspiration.
Inspiration.
I think I lost him. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, inspiration and motivation. I kind of like tie those two together. To be inspired is a good motivation to do, or for me to do what I'm doing. I was inspired because I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. My father was a carpenter. and at night he would remodel homes for people so that you get money for my sister and I to go to college. So I saw him do that from the time I was born to all the way through life. I saw him do that. I had uncles that were one uncle, Uncle Clifford. He owned a printing company over in Philadelphia. So
Okay.
entrepreneurship. And my father used to tell me about his grandfather who owned another corner store in town. So I guess it ran into the family.
It's in
Uh,
your genes. Yep.
yeah. I had another uncle, great uncle that was an electrician. So, we always were inspired and motivated to do certain things because it's good. You have a safety umbrella and a net to work for somebody else, but you're limited on what you can do and what you can help your family or whoever as far as leaving a legacy or wealth generation.
Nice.
Having your own, you can build wealth preservation for future generations, and that's
Wonderful.
very important.
Wonderful. Yes.
That's motivation, that's inspiration. When I was in college, one of the things I was back in the 70s when the war was going on. There were a lot of different movements with social movements going on, and we were very active with giving back to the community. We were very back with the lunch programs and feeding the poor and whatever. So I committed that I had to do something. So my commitment was I taught school for 5 years.
Nice.
And
Nice.
that it was a way of giving back to community. I still
Mm-hmm.
give back now.
Nice.
I'm the chair of my zoning board in my township, so I'm still
Mm-hmm.
giving back to people because that's something that we have to do. If we don't give back and we don't support each other, who's going to help us? If we don't prepare for wealth generation and wealth preservation for our family, who's going to help us? We got to help ourselves. We got to build that. And owning land, that is the one thing that there'll never be more land made. And
Exactly.
when you own land, that's something that you can give to your family. And even back in the early years of founding this country, they
Mm-hmm.
understood the ownership of land.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
King George back when he was back in England, he understood land because he would only give land to those who fought with him. His knights, as a reward, they would give land, and
Mm.
and people to understand about how you would pay a tax but not have any representation.
Mm.
So that was how that came about. As far as why should I pay taxes and have no representation?
Mm-hmm.
The Dred Scott ruling was, you couldn't own land,
Mm-hmm.
and during this United States, a lot of people were not allowed to own land.
Yes. Especially blacks. Yep.
Yeah, and you see where they burnt down communities
Yes.
because of land. 40
Mm-hmm.
acres and a mule. What happened to it? They understood. They said, "Oh no, you can't own land." So land is very important. So
Yes.
that's why I'm into the space of title. I'm here to help anybody have title questions. Vera, and as your listeners may not know, title companies and attorneys work hand in hand.
Yes, we do.
We need each other as far as what we do,
Yes,
and we're all
indeed.
here to help you. Okay.
Yes, yes. So tell my audience how they can get in touch with you, Richard.
Okay. My name is Richard Ransome. I am the owner of Collegiate Title Corporation. We have an office in Morristown. Our main office is in Morristown, and that's Moorestown, South Jersey. And we have an office also up in Island, which is at the corner of the Garden State Parkway and the Turnpike. So we have two locations of service in the state of New Jersey. Our telephone number is 866-977-0990, 866-977-0990. That's a toll-free number. Our website is www.collegiatetitle.com.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. So let's see. I think we covered everything. It was so great to have you on the show, and so many words of inspiration, motivation, and education. I really appreciate you taking the time to spend time with us, Richard. Hopefully you'll come back another time and we can talk
Anytime.
about some other great things. We can solve the problems of the world, okay?
No problem. Well, I do thank you for having us on today.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye bye.